Double Doinkers with Willie J and Nick Maya. This is a fantasy football podcast. I want to be very clear about that. This week we bring to you the Week 1 preview and overview. That's right, football is finally here. What's going on, Willie? How you doing, man?
I'm doing. It's not finally here. We still got like 20 more hours.
Yeah. Well, when this releases, it'll be like.
Oh, that's right.
Like 9 more hours. It'll be crazy. It'll be pretty much there. We're kicking things off, of course, with the Cowboys and the Eagles. So a nice little NFC East rivalry, and that's taking place in they're here in America, right? And it's the Friday game that's in Brazil. Is that right?
Yeah, the Friday game in Brazil, it's Chiefs Chargers, and I forget how the time difference works. I guess we're on a similar time zone as Brazil, but I think it's a later game.
Yeah, I'm seeing 5 p.m.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if that makes it earlier there or whatever, but that's fine. But yeah, so Thursday, 5:20, we got Cowboys, Eagles, and then Friday at 5 p.m. we got Chiefs and Chargers. And I'm excited because here's the thing: is that the draft season is one of the most fun seasons of fantasy football, but the issue is we can sit here and talk all day and no one will ever know who's right and wrong. So you can argue numbers, logic, statistics, everything for as long as you want. And then, week 1 comes in and you're just proven 100% incorrect for no reason. And that's like, I love that because now we start getting into the actual nitty gritty of who can we find, who can we play, who can be on your team and help you win this week.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a lot of overreactions after week 1. And that's honestly some of my favorite parts of the season because I have watched enough football that I know not to overreact to, the Saints playing well or Isaiah Likely going off or Sammy Watkins going off. It's like I know at this point that week 1 is just a time of overreaction. So you can be vindicated and validated, but at the same time, don't.
And it really goes both ways. Like, it's not just the players that go off, but you're going to have some of the studs, these first-round draft picks you pick, second round, third round, etc. They're going to do terrible. You're going to have some players that come out here and just do nothing. Don't worry. It is not the end.
We're going to talk about some of those guys in particular, those guys, the studs that are not going to have a good week, most likely.
Yep, and there are a few that the writing is already on the wall. Though one of my favorite things to look out for in the first week of the season is actually the defenses. Because we talk about how good defenses are and how bad defenses are. This is when we can finally start to see the real units, because there's always going to be defenses that disappoint compared to what they should do. And there's always going to be defenses that are far better than what you thought they would be. So, last season you had the Vikings who came out and had a dominant defense. And it was dominant. It was a wonderful defense. It was probably the number 1 ranked defense through football through the whole season. And you had, I'm trying to remember a team that fell off that you wouldn't expect. Maybe the Niners in that last year. I don't know.
That was a big one last year. Mm-hmm. I want to say that I'm very against philosophically drafting a defense early, but that's not because defenses don't matter. Because if you have the best defense in your league, it's going to win you weeks. It is a very important part of your team. It's just that the defenses are so hard to predict and there's so much volatility that you want to draft them late because you just don't know. There's very rarely a reason you want to have one over the other. So just wait. But also, having said that, defenses matter a lot.
This week 1 waiver, everyone's pretty excited about week 1 waivers, right? Because you're I can nab the next big wide receiver running back. For me, my eyes are mostly on that defense because I think certain defenses, if the performance is dominant enough, you can trust that.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't be too afraid. Last year, if you were looking at the Vikings after week 1, they looked dominant. And if you didn't trust it, you didn't get them because someone picked it up and trusted them. So trust those defenses. And I almost say regardless of the team they're playing, even if they're playing the Colts and they dominate the Colts, let's say the Dolphins have a wonderful defense. I don't know. You're going to be oh, they just played the Colts. The Colts suck. Well, we don't really know that yet. But we do know that their defense had a great game.
Regardless of who they're playing, exactly. Who are you? Do you know who you're starting this week?
As far as if I had the choice of any defense in the world, I would choose the Cardinals over the Saints.
That's who I'm starting. Let's go.
Yeah. That's where I want to be.
On paper, that's why I chose the Cardinals. I got them my last pick.
Yeah, I think right now I'm going with the play that I'm a little bit worried for, but it's a defense that I expect to be better than they're advertised, and I'm playing the Giants.
Oh, like that.
I'm hoping for as the folks Denny Carter would say, a sack based floor, which is like the defense will get enough sacks that it almost doesn't matter how many points the other team scores. You'll get like a 5 or 6 point game at the very least.
The Commanders on paper have an incredible offense, but I think their offensive line is going to take some time to gel. The Giants, I think, are going to be one of the best defenses in the NFL this year. And I think their secondary is underrated. And if we haven't had Jaden McDaniels and Terry McLaurin off-season chemistry for the whole offseason, I think that the secondary could pick apart part of his receiving core. So that's good.
Yeah, and that's my guess, because this is I agree with you 100%. I didn't draft a defense until the very final round, and it was like looking at, okay, well, regardless of matchup, who do I find the best of the remaining pieces? No one was taking the Giants anywhere, but I think that's a mistake. And Giants are a team that I hope that I'm ahead of the curve here, so I'd love to watch that and just see. I don't expect the Giants to win that game, mind you. Could they? It's a division game. Any team can win a division game.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't be the most shocking thing in the world, but if their defense comes out and is a strong showing, then I've got good feeling for the future.
Exactly. Speaking of defense, this is a good segue into I think the number one news story this weekend. It's one that I haven't emotionally processed yet.
That's fair.
And that's the hotly debated and just very, very frequently talked about trade between the Cowboys and the Packers. I feel like it just took up so much of sports media this week, even with the preparation for week one. It's Micah Parsons to the Packers for 2 first-round picks and a defensive tackle, Kenny Clark. Now, I want to hear your opinion on the trade overall, because I'm a Bears fan, so I have this innate bias.
Yeah, okay. My first opinion is that this is going to make the Packers a much better defense. I think there's almost no way it doesn't make the Packers a much better defense. If you look at the stats, what the Cowboys were able to do with Micah on the field versus him off the field,
yeah,
it's pretty stark. It's pretty easy to see what sort of impact a player of his caliber can make. So the Cowboys are just their defense is going to be so much worse. This could be great for their offensive players. If you believe in that, I would look at bad news for the running backs, but the running backs already suck. Who cares?
I think it's great news for Dak.
yeah. Dak, CD, and George Pickens. And like, if they're really far down, you might even throw in Kevontae Turpin. You didn't hear me that from me though.
He got you some points last year.
yeah. I mean, that's deep. Don't play him right now. But for the Packers, I think it's wonderful. It boosts their defense immediately. Trading 2 first-round picks is a thing that I think might. I look at these trades, and they're not catastrophic for the teams that have done them. And like, my main comparison here is going to be when the Raiders traded Khalil Mack to the Bears.
Yep.
Because that feels about the same. Because Khalil Mack was otherworldly, and then he got traded, and like, it made the Bears better. It did. It didn't really put them over the top. The Packers, I think, are better coached than the Bears were at that time, because I think that was. I don't know that was a Matt, whatever his name is.
You mean with the Bears?
Yeah,
it was Matt Nagy. Yeah,
it was Matt Nagy. Okay, and that's an issue. The Packers are better coached. I don't know. I think the fact that he's still having injury issues with his back, it concerns me all around.
See, I hate to say this as a Bears fan, obviously, but I think this is a great trade for the Packers. I think that giving up 2 first-round picks is rich, and it's an unbelievable contract. It's like $49 million a year or something. Like,
yeah, it's the number one non-QB quarter,
and it blows the runner-up out of the water. I believe I think it's like $9 million more than Jamar Chase, and that was a big deal. I think that I think the Packers are good enough that they're in win now mode, and I think that the edge position on their team was their biggest weakness. Now it's not. The injury news could be a slight concern, but this is Micah Parsons is going to be on the Packers for a decade, if he avoids injuries. So you're going to be looking to the future. It's going to put them in cap hell for sure, but I know they're putting all their chips in, and I think it's good for a team to do that. And I'm glad. I hate that it's the Packers that did it, but I think they make sense on paper to trade for Parsons. I liked him going to the Packers or the Bucks. And I think that I believe that the Bears were wise to not pursue it. You're
Yeah,
just not there yet.
it's crazy to me that the Cowboys were willing to trade him in conference. Like, I know in division's one thing, but in conference, I know you got the right price, I suppose, but that makes me think that they're not viewing themselves as large competitors as I think Jerry Jones is letting off.
Well, I see you say Cowboys, but we're in all of this. We're just talking about Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones is an idiot. I'm sorry. I'm going to just say that straight up. And he's clearly been very successful in his life, so take that for what it's worth. But Jerry Jones with like the most low-key shade of over and over again calling Micah Parsons Michael. Like it's just disrespectful to the guy.
Yeah.
And it's all over the fact that Micah wasn't willing to sign a deal without talking to his agent, which is guaranteed with the collective bargaining agreement that they have. So, this is like, if you want to get further than football for a second, this guy is union busting without even knowing he's trying to union bust. Okay. So like, this is not a good move on Jerry Jones' behalf.
Yeah. It's just, and the press conference he gave was a disaster afterwards. It was just bad. And I feel like this is maybe the most impactful trade we've seen since Russell Wilson to the Broncos, but obviously has the potential to be much more impactful because that didn't make an impact. We just don't usually see superstar trades like this, and it's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's the Packers, I'm excited that it happened.
Yeah, no. Let's see. Other news. Juwan Jennings signed a contract. It wasn't an extension. It was an increase in potential money via incentives. So he goes from making $7.5 million to potentially making $10.5 million if he reaches certain incentives. So this, and he didn't choose an extension. Apparently, it was on the table for him, but he chose the increase in pay. So this is, if you want to bet that players really show out on their contract years, Juwan Jennings might be looking a little juicy right now.
I do like him a bit more because of that, because it's not just a contract year. It has incentives. So he's going to, want to get to, for example, same thing as Mike Evans and wanting to break that record. Like, they're going to want to get him to 1,000 yards. I think he's going to make more money because of that. I think he has some incentives built into his contract, but also like just as a team culture thing, like he's going to be getting a lot of receptions. And I think
he's going to talk to Brock Purdy. He's going to be like, hey man, if I catch 3 passes in this game, I get paid $1 million. And Brock's like, you get paid $1 million for 3 catches? All right, I'll throw your ball your way.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's like a human thing, and you can't get rid of the human thing no matter how hard you try.
No.
I love the news. I mean, I now apparently have Brock Purdy as my starting quarterback in my league record. So I love the news. Really, like, you got to get weapons. I would say you don't really have to worry about it if you're a George Kittle owner. Ricky Pearsall, I don't want to say he takes a hit, because I don't really think that's necessarily it. It's just less of a like 100% sure thing now.
His ceiling is just capped. It doesn't affect his floor, I don't think.
Yeah. And then of course, who cares? CMC is going to do whatever CMC does. He's either going to be an amazing stutter, he's going to get hurt, and I think it's going to be the first. So if anyone heard that the wrong way, I don't want CMC to get hurt. I think he's going to be awesome.
Yeah. He's starting week 1. That's all we can hope for.
So there's been a ton of news talk of depth charts and all that stuff. We're not gonna get in the weeds, because we could just talk about that for the whole hour, and there's really no purpose. So let's instead move that over to our stock up, stock down players.
That's good.
So I'll start off with a stock up player that I think I'm really interested in, and this is more of like this is someone who's probably available on your waiver wires if you're listening to this. And I like his talent. I like the team fit. Elik Ayomenor. And he's of the Tennessee Titans. He is a 4th-round rookie. He wasn't the first rookie wide receiver they drafted in the 1st round. That was Kamire DK. I'm trying my best with the names. I really am.
Kamire DK, yeah.
I did look this up beforehand. But Elik Ayomenor, he got the starting wide receiver job. And not only that, the coach came out and said that he clearly earned it. So this isn't just like a depth chart shenanigans. This is the coach saying, hey, this guy put in the work and he's good enough. He deserves to be out there. He is going to be a starting wide receiver. I think if you have a player that you're not sure on and you want to throw him on the bottom of your bench, I think it's a good idea.
I agree. I mean, go back and listen to one of our first episodes where we talked about rookies. I was hyping up Ayomenor based on his tape at Stanford. One of his probably his most popular play is him just completely toasting Travis Hunter in a game. He has a lot of, the tangible, like, physical features of a good receiver, but in the limited tape I've watched, he just looked really, really good. So I was really excited about him. I'm excited he's made the starting lineup. And it's great. He has that chemistry of Cam Ward. They're both rookies. They're going to be, it's cool. I like drafting players, rookie players that are playing with fellow rookie quarterbacks. Obviously, there's a very low floor with that plan, but I feel like there can often be a connection there.
We'll talk more about this matchup later, but I want to say too, he's going against the Broncos, which the Broncos have a wonderful secondary. Patrick Surtain, in theory, should be covering the wide receiver one. So there's a sneaky play here of Elick, because Elick's not the number one wide receiver.
No, it's Calvin.
He might feast because of this. But we'll talk more about Calvin Ridley later, I'm sure. So do you have a stock up player you want to talk about?
I think one that probably, if you drafted, he is probably most likely already in your flex. But one is based on news, but it's kind of continuation from last week. But it's Austin Eckler. I think that just disregarding the news that came out about the depth chart, I don't care about depth charts, especially of rookies. But regardless, I think that Austin Eckler is a very safe play on a week by week basis. And Dan Quinn came out and said that they really like what they've seen from him in camp, and we know that he has that potential, like, to finish as as a top running back. Not saying he's going to be like an RB1 or even an RB2 per se, but I just really, really like his floor. And I think with obviously the Brian Robinson trading news, like, they have to have confidence in this backfield. But I feel like Eckler is the beneficiary. I think he's going to be the best running back in this room.
Yes, they're memeing around with Bill right now, moving his position all over the depth charts. They're goofing, big goof.
Yeah.
But it looks like it's pretty clear that Austin Eckler is going to be the starting running back there, and then you're going to have some combination of Bill, Chris Rodriguez, and McNichols. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would expect that Austin Eckler, at least for the first few weeks while he's really healthy, he's going to have a significant role, and he is a very talented goal line back. So they've talked about Chris Rodriguez being used for touchdowns, but Austin Eckler he was known for a long time as the touchdown machine. He was the original Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
There's no reason for me to believe he can't do that. Like, his biggest competition there's Jaden Daniels, which is huge, but like, if you're going to play one of the running backs off of the Commanders, you're going to want it to be the guy who's scoring touchdowns. At least that should provide.
I like
upside.
Eckler. Exactly. I like Eckler as a week one side overreaction play, because I feel like the Giants matchup is going, like we mentioned, their defense. The Giants have a great defense, especially defensive line. And I think that Eckler is not going to have the greatest game. I think the Commanders offense is going to be capped, but if he's not, if you don't play as deep of a league, like, he's a possible drop candidate depending on what league you're in this week if he has a bad game. Not saying that's like most leagues, but some leagues will overreact to that. So definitely be on the eye. Keep an eye on either picking him up off waivers, or he could be a potential trade candidate after this week.
Yeah, for sure.
Or he could just be a beast. I mean, maybe he'll return close to what he was 3 years ago. Who knows?
This is a good, like, little kind of thought process here, because after week one we're going to have the overreactions, right? And one of those things, like we talked about, is both good and bad overreactions. Okay, so for the first one with Austin Eckler, if he has a blow up game, you could trade him, and that could be the absolute right decision. I will also tell you, if someone's trying to trade him to you after week one and you think this is the real Eckler we're getting for the season, you might get a lot of value for that trade.
Yeah.
Because so I love these situations, because it's someone who you don't really know what the outcome is, but you get to make that gut call, and you could really win a trade based on this gut call.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that, especially after week one. I think we'll talk next week about some possible guys to target that either had great games and there's an overreaction, or bad games and there's an overreaction.
This is I'm going to call it a stock up because it's better than it was before, but I'm going to go with Adam Thielen. And the reason why I'm doing that is Jordan Addison is still suspended, and Jeremy Naylor is being talked about as potentially playing. So I think this is like Adam Thielen.
Jefferson's injured too. Like, I don't think it's significant, but he didn't practice. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah. So Adam Thielen, who's come in within the last week or so to Minnesota, but he's been in Minnesota forever. This isn't like a new situation for him.
He was born there, I think. So
I mean, it's his ancestral land. Don't listen to that. That's the wrong way for me to put that. Anyway, here we go. Adam Thielen. I think that Adam Thielen is going to come in and have kind of a good week just based on volume alone. So and this is again, Adam Thielen is that guy who, based on volume alone, could have a good season. So I think his stock has risen from where he's being drafted, like in the 11th, 12th, 13th round, to someone you could start week 1.
It could be a really solid flex like he was just 2 years ago. And I think similar to the Surtain situation of Ridley, I mean, personally, I think Jalen Johnson is a top 5 corner in the league, and he's going to be locking up Justin Jefferson if he does play. So Thielen's going to feast. I mean, Thielen's always been a reliable target for Kirk Cousins down the field, a touchdown magnet, and I have no doubts. Even if they don't have a whole offseason of chemistry, I like the JJ Thielen connection for touchdowns specifically.
Yep. Yeah, and he's a rookie quarterback's best friend. I mean, we saw that with Bryce Young. And JJ's not a rookie, but come on, like,
yeah,
he's
in terms of the lights being bright, he's a rookie.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any more stock up players you want to discuss?
Yeah, I think, well, and the inverse of Thielen would be T-Mac on the Panthers. I mean, I really love my journey with this guy because I think it was one of the first episodes after the draft, and I was really out on him just based on situation and the unknowns, and you were pretty high. And I feel like every single week he's risen for me in terms of ADP and faith in him. And now, unfortunately, Jalen Coker is on IR and Thielen is gone. The one caveat there is that Hunter Renfrow is back on the active roster. So he's someone to get maybe a little excited about. But I feel like
comeback player of the year is back.
T-Mac is clearly the alpha on this.
Yeah,
no disrespect to Xavier Leggett, but I think that he's just, I think for the whole season in general, even if he has maybe a stinky week this week, I don't think he will based on matchup, but I feel like he's going to be a league winner.
Yeah. Well, I love that. He definitely could be. He has all the talent in the world for it. And I mean, rookie wide receivers pop out of everywhere. Speaking of what rookie wide receivers, I do want to bring a stock up of one player in particular. Maybe this is just me, but I've been getting good vibes from Travis Hunter lately. There's been a lot of talk about Liam Cohen's use of the slot and how the slot receivers in the Liam Cohen offenses typically thrive. And that's where Travis Hunter seems to be playing. And he's listed as a starter on offense and as a backup on defense. And if it's not clear his talent level, he's picking number 2 overall and traded up for with a lot of draft capital. So I'm feeling pretty good about Travis Hunter's role in the offense right now. And I mean, of course we haven't seen him play yet, but it definitely feels a lot more peachy than it did maybe even 3 weeks ago.
I think I think I like Travis Hunter more than I liked him all season, perhaps because his ADP got pretty inflated, but it didn't go like skyrocket in however ADPs did. It's been more or less consistent. I still think that the 5th round where he was going was too rich for me personally, but I understand it. I think this just makes me more bullish on Trevor Lawrence as a high upside play. I mean, I've heard about this in other sports media, and it's kind of an obvious take based on history, skill set, yada, yada. But I think Trevor Lawrence definitely has the possibility of being this year's Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And Liam Cohen connection. There's a lot.
It almost feels like a logical conclusion, which says a lot about how well the pieces fit. Just, there's a lot of things going positive both for Trevor Lawrence here and for Liam Cohen's offense that you can see it both clicking pretty well.
Yeah.
Who else you got? Anyone?
Yeah, I got another stock up. This is someone I actually traded for in my league. And this is kind of what it's not really maybe stock up in the past week, but just in the past few weeks. And who we have as a starting quarterback, and that's Tyler Warren. I feel like he feels like a very safe floor tight end, well, at least for a rookie. And again, the situation isn't great, but we've seen Daniel Jones, like the beginning of last year, Malik Neighbors, he definitely helped him in fantasy. I definitely like, Daniel Jones starting over Anthony Richardson. And with the Colts receivers banged up, I just feel like Tyler Warren is very safe, very startable tight end. I actually, in my league, I want to share, and this is based on your influence as well. I traded away T. Higgins and Mark Andrews for Cortland Sutton and Tyler Warren.
I mean, okay, I love that trade. Someone's going to hate that, but I love that trade.
I love it too because I have Bo Nix. So I got that Bo Nix Cortland stack, and the guy I traded with, Dylan, he has Joe Burrow. So there's an argument to be made that he won. I like T. Higgins this year, but I feel like his injury history was kind of making me concerned. And I have Cortland Sutton on my team, and I have Tyler Warren of just 2 very, very high upside guys. So I like Warren a lot.
Yes, I mean Cortland. If you listen to the past episodes, he's someone who I got everywhere. So I'm hoping it works out. And I see nothing but brightness in his future.
His preseason, again, it was preseason, but his preseason was pretty nuts.
His end of last season was pretty nuts. It's like it was really underrated how well the connection between him and Bo Nix started kicking off. It was fantastic. So I am into that. Let's move on to stock down, folks.
I don't have a whole lot in the past week. I think this is as an overall take, the Jets run game, whether that be Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, or Justin Fields. The Jets starting right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker. I think he's out for the season now. He has his torn pec. He probably was the best player on that offensive line, and at least
unfortunately,
one of the most experienced. So this takes a big hit, even if he's just one of the pieces and he's a guard. Like, he really matters to his team. It would be like the Colts if they lost Quentin Nelson. Not saying that he's anywhere at Quentin Nelson's level, but I feel like what we've seen based on last year, he is a very important part of this offense, and it's a young offensive line. So I just think this hurts, especially Breece Hall and the other running backs there.
Yeah, the offensive line wasn't particularly amazing last year either. So if you're like losing the strongest piece of it, that hurts. It'll hurt everyone. I mean, the good news is that they did upgrade in a way to a very much more mobile quarterback, which can help mitigate some of those issues. But I don't know that Justin Fields mitigates it enough to where I'm more excited about the other pieces of the offense. Maybe more excited about Justin Fields, who's probably going to take off running more.
I was going to say, I should clarify. Yeah, I think that I think it hurts the running game, but I feel like Justin Fields, it really doesn't hurt him that much. I think you make a good point there. Plus, we saw his line in Chicago, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, I've got a stock down player that is also in theory a stock up player that I forgot to mention. So stock down is Caleb Johnson for me right now.
Ooh, yes.
So this comes with in hand stock up for Tyler Warren. Not Tyler Warren. Jeez, Jalen Warren. So Caleb Johnson, the favorite rookie running back from the Steelers, played at Iowa. Amazing college career and production. However, is currently third on the depth chart, and it seems like it matters because now they're talking very positively about how Jalen Warren has earned his starting spot and how he's earned his chance, and he looks like a different person. He is going to take over and dominate that backfield. And then you also have
Kenneth Gainwell.
Thank you, Gainwell.
Yeah. I was just going to say that Jalen Warren just signed an extension too.
Yeah. They seem very excited about Jalen Warren, actually. And so Kenneth Gainwell, Jalen Warren, and then you've just got Caleb Johnson, who's kind of feeling like the odd man out. Now, clearly, he's not really the odd man out, but he is a rookie in an Arthur Smith offense that is not getting praise while the rest of the players are getting praise.
Yeah.
And you went from Caleb Johnson being potentially one of these like league winner type of players in vibes, because we haven't seen the games yet, but to going to someone who may not see the field for quite a while.
Yeah.
So just major stock down for Caleb Johnson for me. Now, of course, this could all be a wild smokescreen, but again, just knowing and seeing Arthur Smith and the way he operated, it doesn't feel like it. I mean, even if you think back to the Tennessee Titan days with the early Derrick Henry, like Derrick Henry wasn't seeing the field over DeMarco Murray, even though DeMarco Murray was old.
It's hard because I don't want to put too much stock in the depth charts, but I feel like this, like you mentioned, is a case where it matters more because they haven't been coming out and praising Caleb Johnson. They don't need Caleb Johnson to be a part of this run game if they're paying Jalen Warren. And I mean, I think most of all, it just hurts Caleb Johnson's early year stock. So maybe if he's really bad the first few weeks, he could be a solid trade candidate that you can stash on your bench, but definitely he could possibly hurt some people that drafted him like, in the 6th, 7th, 8th round.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Stock down players, you got more?
I don't actually have a lot. I mean, I'm just excited. So, I mean, if it's possible to go down anymore, I would put the Cowboys running back room front and center here.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. And then maybe a little bit of a stock down, just because I feel like I'm getting higher on Austin Eckler. It's just Jacoby Krosky-Merritt. His stock was just so inflated high that I feel like now he's maybe dropping down a bit in ADP.
He's settling. He's settling for sure.
Yeah. So not like stock down as a player, but stock returning to where it should be, perhaps. Let's say that.
Okay, this is stock. I don't have a good delineation for this one, so I'm gonna just bring it up.
Yeah.
Dameon Pierce is getting suddenly these like thoughts and feelings that he could be the starter week 1 for the Texans. Now, Dameon Pierce didn't appear to be a good running back last year, but then a couple years ago he appeared to be pretty great. So, you have to take that for what it's worth, but you have Nick Chubb and Woody Marks is pretty much the only running backs there because Joe Mixon is off in the nether somewhere doing whatever Joe Mixon does. And Dameon Pierce is someone that I've just heard the name mentioned a few more times lately than normal. Now, of course, there's a chance in the fantasy community that's because he was the one who wasn't drafted and everyone wants to pick up the third guy. Yeah. That's always a possibility. But it's just a name to kind of look out for.
I could agree. I think that the third best guy on paper with the league's worst O-line is a guy to avoid. And not because, Dameon Pierce has the chance to pop off, but if your bench is getting full, I mean, there's just guys of higher upside that you could look at right now. I think that if you happen to draft some guys that already got injured or you have extra bench spots, I think he's definitely worth it there. But if they're available, I'd much rather pick up Woody Marks or Nick Chubb or like somebody like Ollie Gordon. But we'll see.
I'm on the wall between Nick Chubb and Dameon Pierce because I really don't think Nick Chubb's got it either. My most interested is Woody Marks for sure because I think he might actually have juice. Between Dameon Pierce and Nick Chubb, it's a throat for me. I know Nick Chubb is the one that's going to get a lot more of the draft capital spent on him. He has more value perceived.
Yeah.
Dameon Pierce is free at the very least. So if you want to take a shot, if you really want to take a shot,
do you think Joe Mixon is droppable?
Yeah, I do. I don't think anyone's going to pick him up till there's word. You might lose him if they find out he's coming back the next week, which would hurt. But I'm so doubtful of that because he hasn't seen the football field in forever.
If you have a bench for injured reserve and you can just put him there in the meantime, that's fine. But if one of your players gets injured, then I would.
Yeah, this is the case for let's say if I had, I'm going to just throw out random names, right? But it's two players. If I had Jalen Coker and Joe Mixon and I only have one IR spot, I'm keeping Jalen Coker.
On upside, I agree.
That's a really unfortunate sign for Joe Mixon because if it's Jalen Coker we're talking about, it's not great. Okay, so we don't have many more stock down players. I'm sure we might get into more as we go on. Whatever. The important part is that you heard a few here. Let's go into some of the talking about specific players that we're pretty excited for now. That is our nuclear boys. Did the effect work? I don't know, man. I can't hear it.
I like it. Our nuclear boys.
I'm doing this live, so so the nuclear boys, what that is essentially is players that you absolutely should start because these are going to be your week winning players as prescribed by the Doinkers. So you're like Doinks of the week essentially, but these are the nuclear boys. Doinking a town near you.
I like us to keep track throughout the season. I mean, this is a little bit easier than some of the other categories, but how many we hit for each week? Well, let's try and go like 90% here. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick. So I don't know. Do you and we're going to discuss this live for just a quick second. Do you want to do specific positions or do you just want to go with generalized players?
I just did generalized players for all of this.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I do have, I think, one of each for these guys. So we can go. But I guess just to start us off, one guy I'm really excited about. I already mentioned him, but it's Teteroa McMillan going up against the Jaguars defense. The Jaguars secondary is not something, at least on paper, that looks functional compared to the rest of the NFL. He's had the whole offseason to prepare Bryce Young. I feel like if the Jaguars do have a good component of their defense, at least on paper, it would be maybe stopping the run. So if the run game is ambiguous or there's something there, I just feel like Teteroa McMillan has so much upside and he just has the potential to have a really good week one as a rookie.
Okay, I'm going to start off with a player, and I will say I agree with you about T-Mac, and this is a good scenario as any because the Jaguars don't have that shutdown corner that's going to focus hard and take him out.
Yep.
I'm going with James Conner.
He's on my list too. How about that?
Yeah. James Conner of the Arizona Cardinals versus the New Orleans Saints. There's no world for me, and I might look like a fool for saying this immediately, but there's no world for me in which this game is going to be a super duper close competitive game. I think that the Cardinals are going to go up, even if by just a little bit, and they're going to lean on that run game, and that run game's going to work. And James Conner is going to get. I'm gonna say he's going to get a touchdown at least and have a serviceable week where I actually think he'll have more than that. I think he'll have a very good week and be like, wow, James Conner is still a thing and he is still great. So James Conner is my first nuclear boy.
He's like probably was number 2 on my list. So you just echoed my thoughts there. I think that this is not the Saints of last year. Again, we were really low on the Saints last year. They had a great first couple weeks. There's just so many moving parts in this offense. I mean, I hate to defend Derek Carr, but like they don't have the consistency of Derek Carr.
No, that's real. That's real.
They have a new OC, a new head coach, basically a new quarterback because they just announced a starter like a week ago. So it's complicated, and I really, really, really like Arizona's defense this year. So I agree. I think that if Drew Petzing knows what's good for him, he's going to rely on that defense and then just run the ball. And James Conner he feels like a slam dunk.
Yep, for sure. Okay, who you got next?
This is never maybe an obvious one. And I meant to put down the matchup. I didn't write. Can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, okay, yeah, it's Bucky Irving versus the Falcons.
Yeah, cool.
Pretty sure he had a pretty nuclear game against them last year, and with Bucky, I feel like he is a player that they've really been talking about a lot and hyping up a lot in camp. And this is one of the weeks where, we still don't have Godwin back. Ibuka, I think he's going to be great, but he's still a rookie. Bucky Irving, this is a week where he has a very, on paper, great matchup, and he is one of the most reliable pieces of the offense. So they're going to want to use him for this game. He's going to be I feel like he's going to be the focal part of the offense for this game.
Well, and you don't have, and this is the only time I get to say that, you don't have Kirk Cousins on the other side this time, where Kirk Cousins went nuclear against the Buccaneers both times in like heroic game-saving efforts. Really, like he threw for 500 yards and I think like 3 or 4 touchdowns one time. And like I'm not saying that the Michael Penix can't do that. I'm just saying that there's a chance that the Buccaneers actually do just get a solid way ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I think even the second game last year when the Falcons beat them, I believe Bucky still had a great game. So again, there's moving moving parts of the defense, but I like Bucky this week. Let's get excited.
All right, I'm gonna go with a old veteran. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs of the Patriots versus the Las Vegas Raiders.
Nice.
So the Las Vegas Raiders, as a fan, I do know this. They're actually okay against the run. They have been. Their defense with Patrick Graham, which hasn't changed. They have new pieces, and Pete Carroll's, of course, there. But Patrick Graham's still a defensive coordinator. They like this guy. They've been good against the run. They've got good pieces against the run. They've added the guy from Philadelphia. I'm sorry, that's not very helpful. But anyways, they should have a great defensive line. However, their secondary kind of stinks, and it didn't get a lot better over the offseason. They added Jeremy Chin, and but they lost Lonnie.
They lost Nate Hobbs too, right?
Yeah, they lost Nate Hobbs, and they lost Mike Epps. They lost a lot of pieces, and they didn't gain too many pieces.
Do you know much about this? Is tangential, I guess, but do you know much about the Raiders' starting cornerback room? Is the rookie Darian Porter, is he starting? I haven't heard much about him.
From my understanding, I don't know that he's. No, I have heard a lot about him, and they think that he's the one with the most potential to actually be a star in the future. But I think he's a backup right now.
Okay,
they're starting him as a backup. But yeah, the whole depth chart is just kind of, it's not great. So here I've pulled it. You got Eric Stokes, Caillou Blue Kelly, Darnay Holmes.
What?
I mean, if I'm naming names that stop me.
Stokes was on the Packers and he was really bad there.
And he's the starting. He's one of the starting 3. So anyway, my point being here, their secondary is gonna stink. I think that they still have a chance of having like a middle of the pack defense because they actually have a really good defensive line. But Stephon Diggs is going to thrive in this game, especially if the run game has any issues, because Stephon Diggs can just be that medium yardage sort of like outlet for Drake May to keep the chains moving, keep the ball going, and they're going to want to show off their new toy.
Yeah, 100%. And also,
Stephon Diggs is going to be like a solid to great amazing start, especially over some of the stars you might have. I would say make sure you find a way to get Stephon Diggs into your starting lineup this week of all weeks.
I would say, I mean, we talk about great flexes. I think he's a really great flex play this week. One of my favorites too, because with James Conner and Bucky, you're going to be starting them. But with Diggs, he was drafted in kind of a later rounds where he's probably in your flex, depending on your draft strategy. I also want to say that talk about consistency. He wasn't there last year, but the Patriots had like 9 receivers up until recently, and I don't even know if I think they have 7 still. Diggs has been, even with the injury he suffered a little bit earlier, with recovering from the ACL, he's been like the number one guy the entire time, and he's the one that I would assume has at least recently the most experience of Drake May. So he's going to be the number one guy there. He was never fighting for a roster spot like the other guys.
No, and you can see, I just see the path to him right here, because Diggs is also the sort of guy who wants the volume. He wants the passes going his way, and they haven't had that alpha primary wide receiver. This is a great matchup against the Raiders, because I also think the Raiders offense is going to be able to score points. So this isn't going to be a game where Patriots can just sit back and run a million times.
Yep.
I think Diggs is going to have a phenomenal week 1. I think you're going to want to play him.
I like it. We were going to talk now. Another category we had is this is kind of like a flex play, start sit more or less, but it's a gut feeling start is what I like to call it. And these are guys that maybe depending on how you draft, they might have been in your starting lineup on a weekly basis. I know one of them is for me. But these are the kind of guys, if you're on the fence of who to start in your flex, you're not sure. These are the guys that I really like based on a gut check feeling, but based on matchup, based on vibes, I guess. My first guy here is one that he's probably your starting tight end. This is really just kind of a gut feeling play here. I like it because he just signed a new contract. I think he has something to prove. And it's prime time. It's the first game of the season. It's Jake Ferguson. I think against Philly, like I said, I think with Micah Parsons gone, the Cowboys passing game is going to be, pretty nuclear. The Eagles have not the greatest depth in their secondary, but I feel like every part of that, whether it's, Cooper DeJean, the rookie, or Quinion Mitchell, they're going to be going after George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Now, this is not me like analyzing the X's and O's and saying this is a certainty, but I feel like Jake Ferguson, and we just seeing him healthy again and Dak healthy again, we haven't seen that in a minute. And I think that he has been Dak's safety blanket in the past. And I feel like in a primetime game, I like Jake Ferguson.
Yeah. Okay. I would love to do a little bit more research on figuring out how the Eagles did against the tight ends last year's for their linebacking group and coverage. I don't know if it's on my head, but there might be like...
There's been a lot of change up on their defensive line and linebacking core, so kind of hard to say. But I mean, they still have Vic Fangio, so it's probably somewhat consistent.
Okay, gut check for me is going to be the Brazil game. I am feeling Keenan Allen versus the Chiefs.
Nice.
I think he is going to come back to the Chargers, and he is just going to have immediately that connection with Herbert, who plays phenomenal against the Chiefs every single opportunity he gets. These are the games you love Keenan Allen. Harbaugh, no matter how much he wants to, is not going to be able to just run out the clock running. This is the Chiefs. Andy Reid's going to find a way to be in the lead. And Keenan Allen, I think he's got it left in the tank, and I think that this is going to be a game where they prove that, because the Chiefs have a good defensive scheme, and they're going to be paying attention to Ladd McConkey. Because, frankly, who else really is there besides Keenan Allen, who's back now? And I think Keenan Allen's going to go off. I think he's going to have a phenomenal game. He's going to do it in primetime, and you're going to love yourself for playing him.
I like it because, again, Keenan Allen, he's definitely progressed less on the Bears last year, but again, he was on the Bears, and he's getting up there in age, but he still has really great hands. He's still a great deep threat. Even if he's not the fastest guy, he can get into the end zone. And, he had a down year last year, and he still scored a good amount of touchdowns. So I do want to point out that he didn't necessarily not sign until recently because, he's washed and nobody wanted him. I think he was just really purposely taking his time to decide where he wanted to go and where he wanted to sign as a free agent. And, clearly his heart was still in LA. So it's already a built-in connection. Yeah.
There are a lot of these veteran signings that happen that are they skip training camp. They skip the off-season workouts on purpose. They've done that 10 plus years. They don't necessarily need those reps. And I think Keenan Allen's one of those guys because he also knew Justin Herbert. Once he figured out, like, oh, I'm going to sign with the Chargers, he's like, all right, well, I'll just take my time. And the team's like, fine, that's cool. We know you.
Yeah.
And you mentioned his great hands. I also do want to mention his great beard.
He's got a great beard.
Mm-hmm. It's San Diego, that sort of beard. Oh, I said San Diego.
Oh.
Hi, past. This is almost as bad as the other one I did last time.
Not quite.
Not quite. At least this one's not accidentally a racial slur. Los Angeles and that beard is a good combination.
Yeah. I imagine Hunter Renfrow in LA. I don't know.
Oh, stop it.
One guy I like, and this is another guy that could possibly be in your starting lineup, but I like a lot as a flex this week, is J.K. Dobbins against the Titans. I feel like R.J. Harvey, he's going to be a good rookie. He's going to get adjusted to his offense. He's not going to be the starter right away. I don't think he's RB4 like Sean Payton does, but I feel like J.K. Dobbins, we've seen him, especially earlier in the season, except for the week he tore his ACL, earlier in the season, like really go off, and they want to get the mileage out of him while he's still healthy. And against this Titans team, I can just see, the Broncos being up by quite a bit and then just running J.K. Dobbins against this defensive line, which outside of Jeffrey Simmons, can't name a single player.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah, just he's a good flex play. Yeah, like if there's some guys on your bench you're not sure to start, like if Stephon Diggs and J.K. Dobbins is there, like go for one of them.
Okay, let's see. I think I've got one more for you here, and this is going to be Tucker Kraft against the Lions.
Nice.
I think that this Lions-Packers game has the potential to be a high-scoring affair. Now, we'll see if the Packers' defense is as good as it should be now, or if it's not. Either which way, though, Detroit's offense should be strong enough to make it competitive, and I think that the Packers are going to need to pass a good amount. And I think we're going to see Tucker Kraft kind of continue his tour of relevancy. That feels like I'm downplaying it a little bit.
His breakout extension year, yeah.
Yeah, he's going to show that wasn't wrong. And I'm feeling that Tucker Kraft, he might not be your tight end one, but yeah, if he is, I think you should feel confident. And if he's not, I think you should maybe consider making him your tight end one this week.
I actually got a very deep cut that I would not usually recommend starting, but I love his matchup this week in part because of the narrative and because of the matchup. And that's Jonnu Smith. And first of all, I've been pretty low on him, but first of all, he does know the Arthur Smith system. And Aaron Rodgers is going to want to have a revenge game. He's going to want to be passing against the New York Jets. But similar to other instances we mentioned, I just can't imagine a scenario where Sauce Gardner isn't just completely attached to DK Metcalf this entire game. And outside of DK, we don't see a lot of great potential weapons in this offense for Rodgers to throw to. So I just feel like Jonnu Smith, not a betting man. We do not advocate for sports betting on this channel,
and don't you dare do it with an Arthur Smith team. I'm telling you, please don't.
But if there's one guy that I would be like, maybe he could score a touchdown this week, I can just picture a Jonnu Smith touchdown just very clearly. And maybe
they traded for him. I mean, I don't. Jonnu Smith's clearly talented. Like, we can discuss whether or not he's talented enough to have taken over certain roles in certain teams.
Yeah,
but he's clearly a talented individual. He's a very athletic human, and I think even if the Steelers are up by a lot, I think you're exactly right. Aaron Rodgers is a petty man.
Yeah,
he is going to want to be up by more.
He's going to want to pass a lot. He's going to ask for a lot of passing opportunities. He's like, I mean. He's gonna. I can't wrap my head around Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin, and Arthur Smith all working together.
No, that's just weird. Whole clash of personalities. Like, one of those guys has to have just been like, "I'm stepping back this year. You're right. Mm-hmm. Whatever you want. I'm just chilling." And it feels like that's Mike Tomlin, which is crazy because he's the head coach.
I think. I mean, yeah, I agree.
He's like, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I like this simply because, like I said, I don't see the Steelers letting off the gas.
No.
And look, here's something, okay? Because this has been like boggling and sitting in the back of my head for a while, and it's that. So last year, Aaron Rodgers kind of sucked. Kind of might be even an understatement. He sucked a lot, but it was his first year from an Achilles tear.
Yeah.
And I think we've seen in the second year players get better, back to normal-ish. Not running backs, because that sucks really hard for running backs. Like, we've seen hopefulness from J.K. Dobbins, but like not particularly, but quarterbacks.
Aaron Rodgers is not. He's not running that ball.
No,
he's not using his legs.
I think because the arm strength didn't seem to be completely lost, the decision making. I think Aaron Rodgers could be a little bit better than I'm hoping he is this year, and I hate that. I really hate that, but it's just sitting in the back of my head as like, what if this actually is a thing? What if in the second year after his injury he's better, even though he's 42 years old?
I think he's going to be better. I mean, also don't start Aaron Rodgers this week just to
don't do that.
Get it twisted.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying better than what we expect, but we expect very poor to start off with. So, I know that I have more gut checks. I'm not feeling. I don't want to give them to my listeners because I might just be getting them wrapped up into my own weird thinking, and we'll do that later.
Yeah, we'll get weird later.
We'll get weird later, but I don't want people to get confused week one. You got to start your studs too. Do remember that, okay?
Yeah, you do.
Sometimes your studs look really nasty.
But
week one is not a time to sit them.
Exactly. Yeah, you drafted him for a reason. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to mention, and I calling this kind of controversial sits, but these are also players that you could look at it. If it is a stud on this list, you could also look at it as a potential trade candidate the following week because these are guys I just think are going to have a bad week. Mm-hmm. And one of them, I really hate to say this, and I think that it just gets me excited about the potential of trading for him down the line, but it's Tony Pollard. And Tony Pollard up against this Broncos defense, any player against this Broncos defense, but especially a running back, I don't see a ceiling with Tony Pollard this week or much of a Titans offense.
I'm not going to straight piggyback on that, but this is my immediate thought when I heard this was again Calvin Ridley. And it's for the exact same reason. You can't with Patrick Surtain. I have no faith that Ridley's not going to get locked up.
Yeah.
We'll see. Here's in my smallest of hopes right here. Maybe the Broncos defense isn't quite as good as we hope it is, but it's really Ridley I can't see because Patrick Surtain is as good as we think he is.
Yeah, and it's for me it's less so a matchup and more so like I have a lot of faith in Cam Ward, but I can't expect Cam Ward to come out and be incredible week one.
Yeah, no. Let's say controversial sits. I am thinking about this.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna say DeAndre Swift versus the Vikings. That might not be that controversial, but I think the Vikings defense and their offense are strong enough to make DeAndre Swift not the focal point of this particular week for the Bears.
Yeah, it's gonna be a shootout. I mean, I don't have enough Bears. I think the Bears are gonna win, but it's still the Vikings offense is still there. They're gonna be throwing the ball a lot. They want to be up if they are up.
And the Vikings offense is a discussion, but their defense is also phenomenal.
Yeah,
at least it was last year. I expect that to continue. So, particularly against the run game, they were really good. They had some more holes in the passing game, but this is the week where I'm saying like DeAndre Swift might be a flex guy for you, but if he's like your RB1, RB2, and you have someone who's pretty considerably close, I might say start them over him.
I'll say like for kind of a comparison, I would start J.K. Dobbins over DeAndre Swift this week.
Yeah, same.
I never sit, and this is a guy that I'm just really getting lower on. This is Breece Hall against the Steelers defense week one. I'm out on that.
Okay, that's fair. The Steelers defense is interesting, but they have TJ Watt this week, so it doesn't matter. They're going to be good.
Yeah.
They've had this issue against the run. If TJ Watt's out, they're really bad against the run.
Very
but
bad.
TJ Watt's not out.
Yeah.
So they're going to be fine against the run. And I do agree with that.
This is a guy that I wouldn't, same game. We keep going back to this probably really boring matchup. It's just a guy that I would probably still start because he's probably your wide receiver too, but just I wouldn't expect a lot out of DK Metcalf this week. Like I said, I don't see a scenario where Sauce isn't locking him up because there's just not a lot of good weapons on the Steelers team, and Sauce he's the best secondary player on the Jets, and it makes sense.
This is such a hard question for week one, simply because we don't really know exactly what the offenses or defenses are going to look like. Because I'm just postulating here, right? So let me give you a scenario, an example that really worries me a little bit is this Rams versus Texans game, right? Because I don't think the Texans have a lot of offensive firepower outside of Nico right now. and their offensive line is terrible. Meanwhile, the Rams, their defense looks phenomenal. The Texans' defense looks phenomenal. I'm worried about Rams pass catchers. And not that you're going to sit them, because you can't really sit Puka, you can't really sit Devontae Adams where you got them, right? No. But I'm concerned that their ceilings are going to be pretty low here, because one, I don't think they're going to have to score a ton of points, and two, the Texans defense is really good. Now, if someone can pick it apart, it's Matt Stafford
and Sean McVay and his wizardry, but still, and there's been a consistency with all these guys you mentioned. It's even if there's volatility on the defense, when you have a stud corner, you're going up against that, and there's volatility there. But there's some guys like you just in the Texans secondary with Derek Stingley, Caleb Bullock, and the other guy I'm forgetting, Kamari Lassiter. Their secondary is just, it's going to be good this year. Like, even if the defense regresses, like it's just going to be good.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good. Yeah. And I have a worry. So if you're going against someone who is starting some Rams players, you should feel a little bit more confident. But if you're starting Rams players, which you should, again, I'm not saying don't start these players, but you maybe want to swing for some more high upside somewhere else on your team if there's like a question between safety and upside.
I'm glad Stafford's back there and healthy. That's good.
It's huge. Now, please, Texans, don't go and ruin this man.
No.
They've been known to do that. They're playing football. I get it, but be careful. Another, I have this gut feeling about Devon Achane this week, and I don't love it.
Good or bad?
Bad. They're going against the Colts, so in theory, like if the Dolphins get ahead, they should be able to just run out the clock. But with Devon Achane's early injury and this particular matchup, I'm feeling like it has to be either Ollie Gilbert or him, right? Because there's no one else around right now.
Yeah.
I'm not feeling strong on Devon Achane.
Yeah, I'm not really feeling strong on the Dolphins offense in general, but having said that, and this is maybe a superstition thing, but I think the Colts are by far the team that has gone the longest drought of not winning a week one game. I think it's been like 12, 13 years. If not longer than that. I think it's on par with a Jets playoff drought, but I think the Dolphins defense is underrated, and I think this is going to be a defensive game. I agree.
This is my honest feeling, and this is like, this is where I don't want to get anyone super twisted. I feel like the Colts come out and kind of smash this game. I really do. I think they're going to beat the Dolphins. This is going to be like, are the Colts for real? And this is going to be that like nail in the heart of every Giants fan everywhere.
Is this going to be this year's Saints?
Well, yeah. I mean, I hope there's a little bit more consistency than this year's Saints. These last year's Saints were probably one of the worst things. But kind of, yeah. It's a team that's not going to be good, but they're going to come out and they're going to smash. Like, and the Dolphins are a team that are just begging to be smashed, in my opinion.
I disagree just because of the Dolphins defense. Their secondary, there's not a lot there, but I really like their pass rush. I just think the defense, Anthony Weaver, I think it is. But again, I could see the Colts offense really having a magical week one, regardless of matchup. We'll see.
Okay, so do you have anyone else you really, really, really wanted to mention that you're feeling like you gotta?
No.
I'm excited because we'll get to react to actual games next week. So this will be fun. It'll be really great. Let's do a quick. We had some questions in the chat here. I'm going to go ahead and throw them up on the board so we can do some start sits. So first one here we got from Blurpy. That's happened 8 seconds into our stream. Should I start Herbert or Purdy this week?
I think Purdy's historically been really good against the Seahawks.
Herbert's been historically pretty good against the Chiefs too, but here's the thing: in a vacuum, I think the Seahawks are a better matchup for the quarterback than the Chiefs are.
Okay.
And you're going to Brazil, and I said start Keenan Allen, so it's not that I'm out on Herbert. I just think that if you're looking for the safe play that can still net you pretty good points, Purdy's the guy.
It's close, but I would start Purdy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not super far off. If you're looking at Herbert in a pinch, like that's fine. I'm not mad about that. Honestly, he does good against the Saints, but Purdy's the one who I would choose out of those two.
Yeah.
From Jacob, y'all think me trading AJ Brown for Cortland and Burrow in return was good? So it's not really a start and sit, but it was a trade AJ Brown for Cortland and Burrow.
What? I mean, this as you're, yeah. I mean, that's Incredible trade. Even AJ Brown for Portland is, a possibility, gut check thing there. But I feel like the other team should have gotten a quarterback out of that, even if it's not one as good as Burrow.
I think that there are people who are still really, really high on AJ Brown, and I'm not going to say that you're wrong for that, but I think this is a good trade because they want to run the ball, and they've been very successful at it, and they've got a really great offensive line. Like, in theory, a winning season for Philadelphia has AJ Brown being just a wide receiver too, and their best wide receiver still.
Yeah. If it was like Cortland Sutton and Kyler Murray for AJ Brown, that would be more fair of a trade.
But Joe Burrow is definitely worth it, especially if we're hurting at quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last question I have here is from Frizzle. Who's a better bench stash, Mason Taylor or Marvin Mims? I only got Mark Andrews as my TE, which doesn't help me much about knowing with Marvin Mims where we're sitting there. But in a vacuum right now, because Marvin Mims got hurt, Mason Taylor.
I'm probably going to say Marvin Mims just because I think Mason Taylor has a lot of upside, but I think there's other tight ends on your waiver wire that might have just as much upside that probably aren't drafted. Unless your league really likes tight ends and everyone has a backup tight end, then I would say Mason Taylor. But I would look at the other tight ends on your waivers. Like if there is possibly a Jake Ferguson, Jonnu Smith, Mason Taylor.
Say the name.
What name?
You know what name?
I said Jonnu Smith.
No, the cursed tight end.
Why am I not? You say it.
He plays for the Falcons.
Oh, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, okay, Kyle Pitts, and then Dallas Goedert. If there's just some collection of those guys in your waivers along with Mason Taylor, I feel like it's safe to go with Marvin Mims because there's other guys.
Yeah, if I wasn't thinking at all about the injury with Marvin Mims, I'd say that's an interesting name, potential upside, and he, in theory, should be the starting wide receiver outside opposite of Cortland.
Mm-hmm.
For this particular week, I don't think you have to for this week, in my mind, you're not going to have to worry about Marvin Mims.
Yeah,
getting picked up by anyone because no one's going to be paying attention. So if Mason Taylor pops off, Mason Taylor is the player I'd want on my bench because then I can trade him and still pick up Marvin Mims.
Okay, I like that. I like that logic. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of faith in Mason Taylor year long because of the Jets offense scares me. I don't think you're going to have a lot of pieces outside of Garrett Wilson. I'm down on Garrett Wilson compared to most people, but even outside of him, I don't think you're going to have a lot of really strong startable options. But if Mason Taylor does pop off for whatever reason, again, like I said, you can find someone who's I need a tight end, and I love rookie tight ends because I had Brock Bowers last year.
I don't hate having Mark Andrews as your only tight end. If the rest of your team is good, he's serviceable, I think.
Yeah, thank you for addressing that part of the question. With tight end, if you're already looking at picking up Mason Taylor to stash him, don't worry. If you have to stream, you have to stream. Yeah. That is streaming level. So if there's someone else on, Marvin Mims isn't really it for me. As far as this is the bench stash I need. But if there's a running back handcuff that you're sure the starter's going to get hurt at some point, feel free to pick them up. Mark Andrews is fine.
Yeah, I would go after someone like an Ollie Gordon if he's still there, or a Tyler Algier. Just maybe the backup running backs or players that aren't necessarily rostered. I would do that over Mason Taylor. I think I wouldn't really factor Mark Andrews into your equation.
Yeah. Okay. And that's all the questions I got in the chat. Cool. So that feels pretty good. That's an ending.
That's an ending. I do want to give a quick shout out to this awesome article I read that was in the Atlantic.
Oh yeah, please.
It's called "The Bust Files: How NFL Teams Break Young Quarterbacks." It was one of the best pieces of sports journalism I've read in a long time, and there was a lot of quotes and interviews with quarterbacks and GMs, and there was a lot of transparency, and it was just basically talking about how the NFL no longer treats rookie quarterbacks as projects and they just expect them to start because of, they want to sell jerseys. They want to give their fans hope. They want to sell tickets, and how that's just bad for rookie quarterbacks and the league. It's just a great article. There's some really awesome perspectives from Alex Smith, Matt Ryan, Chris Ballard. It's definitely worth a read.
And if this interests you and you read that article, also check out a lot of Tom Brady's recent interviews. I don't like Tom Brady very much as a Raiders fan, even though he owns the team now. I might like him later if he wins. But he's talking about the same thing, about how young quarterbacks aren't really taught the game anymore in the same way, and how it's really hurting the the passing quarterbacks more so than the running quarterbacks. Like running quarterbacks rely on athleticism, and that's fine and that's good, right?
Yeah.
But there's a reason why you see the passing quarterbacks kind of slowly just disappearing, and it's not because they don't exist. It's because they're not taught the game in the same way.
Yes. I hate to begin and end this episode with defending the Packers, but I think that drafting Jordan Love and letting him sit is one of the smartest GM decisions we've seen in regards to the quarterback in the past few years. Like Jordan Love would not be who he is without having sat.
The teams need to be willing to burn a season watching their team be bad for a quarterback to learn.
Yep.
And they're not. They're like, we'll burn 3 games and then the end of the fire.
Yep.
Anyways, with that said, doink out. Have a good week 1. I am stoked. I'm hoping that you win. Whoever is listening to this, check us back week 2, same time, same place. We'll be here.
We'll be here.